Welcome to Caching in the Northwest, the official podcast of GeoWoodstock 18, right here in the great Pacific Northwest. Each week, we're going to talk about caches and cachers from here and all around the globe. So while you're debating whether you should try windsurfing, we'll be caching in the Northwest. And you know we can't do that until we bring in our geocaching gibbon. Some say he has nightmares about his GPSR batteries dying. And others say he showed up to a party rolled up in a carpet. All we know is he's called Land Monkey.
Is this some sort of Cleopatra reference?
Oh, you got it. Very good.
I don't know how I feel about that. All right. Okay, thanks. And good evening to you too.
You're welcome.
And speaking of queens, we have the Ape Queen with us this evening.
Hello.
Hey, jtCoffee.
Hello. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be back.
We're glad to have you back. Somebody else that Chris can take out his teenage angst on. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, you know what?
You forget the new amount of control I have. Layout.
But I also have that same control. I just haven't practiced with it, which is even more dangerous. Far more dangerous. I'm a completely reckless monkey with control. All right. Well, speaking of completely reckless, but yet having control, a quick reminder that we appreciate the support of our patrons. Wait a minute. That doesn't make a good segue. Who hope to keep this podcast coming each and every week. And a special thanks to Land Sharks, our corporate Denali level sponsor. And folks, if you want to know more about supporting this show, click the Patreon link on the CachingNW.com website. And speaking of the CachingNW.com website, gosh, I was over there just before this show and it looked a little different, Chris.
Well, you know, it was time for a little updates. Things weren't working right. So, you know, as WordPress goes along and updates things, it breaks others. And so there's been some work done on the CachingNW.com website lately. Go over, take a look. It's a new podcast player. You can, you know, if you're going on a road trip, you can open this on your phone. You can start at the most recent podcast and listen through nonstop through all of the podcasts. It would be a long road trip, but give it a shot and let us know how that works for you.
Sounds good. Hey, I am noticing in the chat that there's some buffering action and choppy audio. So hopefully that'll stabilize, folks. Stay there, hang in with us. But we really appreciate the feedback as we test out these new tools.
Yes, thank you so much for letting us know. Another thing we need from you are glows. You know what a glow is? That's a geocaching log of the week. And whether you read it or whether you wrote it, we want to hear about it because great logs simply make geocaching better. Send an email or a field recording. You know, that's a recording you do out in the field, maybe on your smartphone.
It's a recording of field crickets.
It could be. Or you know what? Send us birds chirping. I like that. That's, you know, you can buy these sound waves, but they're so much better if you've recorded them.
Don't send us waterfalls or creeks because we'll listen for like 30 seconds and we got to go to the bathroom. So that's just useless.
It's so embarrassing, but true. Send that to feedback@CachingNW.com. You can call into 253-693-TFTC or use the voicemail tool right there on the website, that CachingNW.com website, and show us how you glow. Now, we have a glow today from the Seebeck tribe. Starts off, good day, guys. I have a glow from a cache that I did back in April. I was out with Bugs59 caching in Port Townsend, Washington. We went to the Point Wilson Lighthouse. That's GC1 Golf Beta Golf 6. And here's my log. I'm out grabbing caches in Port Townsend with Bugs59, and we gathered our stuff and went and found the cache. As we were heading back, I realized I didn't have my car keys. Oh no, was the thought. And sure enough, after we get back to the car, I look inside and the keys were nice and dry inside the car with the doors locked. No. So it hadn't quite started raining and I managed to get roadside assistance to come and get us. We walked up the road a little bit and took shelter inside an abandoned bunker. Standing there waiting for the guy to show up. I love the double takes that as people drive by and realize there's someone inside the bunker. The rain has been coming down much harder, and hopefully the person will get here soon. Thanks for putting this cache out and experiencing the great outdoors. And by the way, the tow truck driver showed up about an hour later, and the rain did stop by then.
Wow.
Quite the
Well,
adventure.
yeah, exactly what I was just thinking. That is quite the adventure, and glad that
I've done that myself.
glad that you were okay and got home safe. And that's from Seebeck Tribe, eh?
Seebeck Tribe, yes.
Very cool.
Dora Moore says, I can see them, but they're freezing in the most amazing poses.
I know.
All right. Yeah, I've suggested, for those who may not have seen it in the chat, I've suggested it. I think it's actually a YouTube thing because the three of us are connecting with really good bandwidth here. And Supernauts said that they dropped off and joined back in, and it's fixed for them now. So that might be
tip.
something to try. Pro tip. Thanks, Jesse. All right. So what are we going to talk about?
I don't know. What do you want to, Jesse, is there anything you want to talk about tonight?
I thought we could talk about some stats.
Ooh,
it's all about the numbers.
It really is all about the numbers. Ask the land monkeys.
It's all about the stats. I always say it's kind of about the numbers. It's all about the stats.
It really is.
It definitely is. That became really important to me when I first started caching, and I first saw on the geocaching.com pages when it would just show you some really simple stats. All of a sudden, how those numbers were starting to line up became really interesting, and how I had total control of what if my average cache is 2 a day? What if it was 3 a day? What if I could make it a little less, make it more? What about my streak? Very motivating for me.
Awesome. That's very cool. Now there's all kinds of different ways to track your stats. Maybe what we can do is we'll start with talking about which ones. So for folks who maybe are a little bit new to the game and haven't gotten into the detailed stats, what are the ones that you can track through your standard or your default profile page?
Yeah, on your geocaching.com profile page, when you can get there in any number of ways when you're looking at your dashboard, or by just clicking your name, or even on the left side, it says statistics. You can click on that and it will calculate your best caching day, year, and month, your positive streak, which is how many days that you have finds in a row, not how many days you've tried for a cache, but however many days that you have found one, as well as your negative streak, which is how many days that you don't have finds or in a row, not necessarily DNFs, either DNFs or days that you just didn't go out. And the very first day that you logged a find, how many finds you have on each calendar day. It will track the combinations that you can find of the difficulty and terrain rating, your DT rating or your Fizzy grid. It will track your map. There's a tab at the top that it will show you your map, and it'll show you countries, it will show you states within the US and provinces within Canada, and it will color change for you with how dense your finds are, which is also really fun to manipulate. And it will also track your milestones, that when you first start out caching, you have more milestones more frequently, your first cache, your fifth cache, your 10th cache. And then you get all the way down and it starts to become less frequent because they probably figure that you're not so motivated by milestone caches anymore once you get past 10,000. But that's a really fun thing to find important or special to you caches that will show up on that milestone list for you.
Very cool.
Oh, there's also your friend league.
Oh, yeah?
I don't usually, I forget about that because it's still relatively new. Your friend league or your leaderboard, and it will track how you are doing based on the friends that you have assigned in geocaching.com. That you can easily add other cachers to be your friends, and you can see how they do, and you can track their stats too. And there's a nice list that can show you those a little more easily. Then in your leaderboard, it'll show you how you're doing per week as compared to them, which adds a fun just news update for the caches that they're finding, which I find fun to read. And then it also adds a little competition to who is either finding more or more caches that are worth more points.
And again, that runs Monday to Monday, right?
I believe so, yeah. And it just refreshes. It doesn't stop necessarily, it just refreshes. And then HQ will decide the point values. There are different ways that you can play the game. Either you find one particular cache, or you find a cache that has a certain number of favorite points as a minimum, or you've set loose a trackable that you don't own, or set loose a trackable that you do own, or you find a multi-cache or something like that.
Right on. Yeah. And one thing else I've noticed about Friend League is you can look back 1 week, but you can't go any further back. So basically the data's quote unquote gone. Friend League, at least from our eyes now. I don't know if HQ has them somewhere rolling around in a database, but
oh, you know they do.
There's a spreadsheet, or many.
Yeah, Rock Chalk's got them all. Keeping track, watching everybody. All right.
Well, Friend League became very important a couple of promotions ago.
Mary Hyde?
Yes. When they started using it on that, and it's like, oh, there's a Friend League. Let's use this. This is fun.
Because you've been able to add friends on geocaching.com for a long time. And then they were just kind of there. And for me, I would be able to see more easily the logs that my friends had made. So, and if I know maybe my friends leave a certain sort of subtle hint that you only can see if you know what you're looking for. So I usually find those pretty useful. But now they would help you get points, and then for Mary Hyde, and then it would help you get souvenirs for the summer promo, which is really fun.
Very cool. So continuing on about stats, we'll switch to another type of stat. One of my favorites, for any number of reasons, streaking. Streaking. Yay! Okay. Podcast. So there's different types of streaks.
You there, big fella. The family-friendly podcast.
I said that was for a different podcast. All right, Betsy, take us out of the gutter.
Streaks, so fun. And like I was saying, there are some that you can do positive streaks, which is cache finds on consecutive days. And then you can do negative streaks, where you can see if you can decide how long you want to either have DNFs or not go out at all. And you can try to make it so that your positive streak is higher than your negative streak, and because that again is all tabulated for you. But you can decide what kind of streak that you'd like to do. If you're working on a positive streak, you can just do finds per day, or maybe you can do a certain type of cache for a certain duration. Like, I'm going to find a multi every day for a month, or a puzzle cache every day for a month. And those get shown either in your stats. It helps you calculate your it helps increase your cache diversity rating, which is another stat that shows up, and how the percentage of traditional caches that you have, or versus the percentage of earth caches or virtual caches or whatever. That's another thing that's tabulated on geocaching.com. And I have several friends that like to keep their traditional cache finds as the percentage of finds as low as possible, which is a challenge. Actually,
it would be a challenge. Yeah.
But then there are a number of, speaking of challenges, there's a number of challenges that require you to do those particular streaks of a multi every day for a month, or a puzzle every day for a month, et cetera, et cetera.
So what's the difference between streaking and just filling in the calendar?
The main difference is streaking keeps in mind the year that it is, and it requires consecutive days. When you're just filling in your calendar, you can imagine a grid of a year of a full year where the actual year doesn't exist. So there's a January 1, a January 2, a July 1, a July 2, and so forth. And you fill in the boxes on that grid, but you don't have to do it in a row. You certainly can, but often you just don't, because you miss a day here and there. And it satisfies, once again, those completionist box checkers like I am, to have your whole grid all nicely filled out. And I recently learned, actually, if you look on geocaching.com and you look at that year find grid, There's different shades of green based on the densities of fines, and from zero, it's a white box. From 1 to 10, it's a light green box. It ticks over at 11, it ticks over to a darker green at 26, and then it ticks over to an even darker green at 101. And I know a lot of people that like to manipulate the green variance in those boxes, or they want to have exactly. Or they want to have a minimum of 11 in every single day that they find, or a minimum of the year that it is in every single day, or a minimum of the years that they've been caching, or something like that. All those little things that you have control over that you can play with.
That's very cool.
Yeah, you can even focus from there. It can be fines, but it can also be filling in your puzzle calendar, which I recently have done. I'm currently working on filling in my multi calendar, which again is not necessarily finding a multi every single day consecutively, although that is kind of what it turns out to be for me. But it is just making sure that on my grid, every day I've at least found one multi. I'm also working on my micro calendar grid so that I will blank out all of every single day having a micro cache found at some point in my geocaching time. Who knows where I'll go from there?
Now, okay, so
Wow.
on the filling in the calendar now, and as you've explained it, and if people look at their geocaching.com stats profile, there is a calendar, as you've explained. It's 366 boxes, and they get colored in different shades of green as you find caches those days. But now when you're talking about doing things like finding, filling that calendar with any specific cache type or find type, like a micro, where would you track that? Like, where would you see that?
You need a different tool now. Now you've crossed into the upper echelon of stat tracking. And thankfully, there are other people out there who are way better programmers and tool users than I am. And they have created websites that help track these things. There are lots of them. My geocaching profile.com, I think, is one of them. I don't often use that one. I have every once in a while. The one that I typically use is projectgc.com, which is project-gc.com. There's a free version of it. There's a paid version of it. I have to admit, I do have the paid version because once I started to realize there were ways and that you could use the website and stats that it would track if you use the paid version, then that was all I needed. And these folks do a great job making this website. It's a very powerful tool. If you've ever done a challenge cache where you have to do a certain number of things or find a certain number of caches before you can go and find that cache, then you may have used a challenge checker, which is the little box on the website of the geocache that you can click and it will say, yes, you've done it, or, oh, no, you haven't. And sometimes it'll even then tell you, oh, you haven't done it yet, but here's the caches that you can find, and then you'll have done it. And Project GC is responsible for on all of the users, and the checker builders are responsible for all of that. But that's the website where those originate. And you can track your own stats on those. You can track other stats on those. And it is a great a great tool to keep track of all these things. It is truly one of my most used websites because I have to remember to track all these things. And in fact, it will even communicate with your Google Calendar. So you may be thinking, gosh, I could never keep track of how many multis per day I needed to find in order to fill in this calendar. What if I missed one? You'd have to wait for a whole other year for that day to come back around again. Amazingly, Project GC will actually, in the paid version, create a list for you. Okay, here are the days that you need one, and it will send it to your Google Calendar. And truly, on my phone, it will tell me, oh, looks like you need a multi today. And then there you go.
That is cool. I am a paid Project GC user, and I did not know that it could do that. So
isn't that cool?
I'm going to have to look into that. That's pretty cool.
It's my saving grace. Because I couldn't, and then I can color code them so I know if I need a multi and a micro that day, or if I just need just a cache that day on my streak, it would just tell me, okay, you just need a cache. You don't need, it doesn't have to be anything special because you've got the other days checked off. But it's a great way to keep those of us who are super neurotic about these things in line.
Silly me, when I got close to filling in my calendar, I went to the stats page and my calendar at the same time and just, copied over need a cache today.
I started doing that, and I had many copies of them because, you never knew what bag I had for work and put it in my lunch bag or, and that kind of thing. But then once it was digitized, then it was game over for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
Nice.
So go ahead, Chris. What's up?
I was going to say there was a question from IHAM that says, gc.com, so geocaching.com stats versus Project GC stats. And they're really two different animals, aren't they?
They really are. They communicate with each other really nicely, and paid versions of Project GC will update every day. I think the free version, I think it updates every week, if I remember correctly. It's been a while, but that was another thing. I had to have fresh stats because it bothered me that they weren't quite up to date. But as you log your finds on geocaching.com, it will auto-populate over into your stats, and it just takes the API token so that everything is communicating back and forth, and you can make lists that way, and there's other features of it that I haven't even explored yet. It's a huge, powerful tool, and I know other people use it very heavily in ways that I don't. So I know that there are other ways that it can make lists for you, and you can make little trips with it, and caches along a route with it, and that kind of thing.
Very cool. Very cool. All right.
ESM times 2 says he's working on his 11 per day grid right now.
Exactly, because of the shading. It's a great thing.
It's funny. I had noticed the different colors on the calendar. I hadn't thought about what the triggers were to change the colors. So there you go. I've learned something. I'm learning all kinds of stuff tonight. It's awesome. It's awesome.
That's great.
So yeah, you can teach old dogs new tricks. And speaking of oldies and goodies.
I see what you did there.
That's my job. What types? So that's the next question for you. What types of stats do cachers track regarding old caches or older caches?
Yeah, lots of them. And in fact, this is another place where Project GC really shines, because those people who really like to find old caches, you might work on your Jasmer challenge, which means you would find a cache placed in every month that geocaching has existed. So you find one that's been placed in May of 2000, then June of 2000, and so on and so on and so on. And you keep that going into perpetuity because caches are placed all the time. And what's interesting about that is that it gets getting harder and harder to do as time progresses, because those oldies, those ancient caches, 2000 and 2001 placed caches, get archived now and again, and that just makes them fewer and farther between. And in fact, in August of 2000, there are only 4 caches on the planet that have that placed by date. So you can only do your quad Jasmer, or some people refer to that as your loop, when you go around and you do your full Jasmer grid, which means you find a cache placed in every month that geocaching has existed. And then if you do it again, that's a second loop, or your double Jasmer, or your triple Jasmer, or your quad Jasmer. But unless you started at the very, very beginning and have kept on going, you really can only get as high as your quad Jasmer. And the 4 caches are not near each other, and they're not necessarily convenient to find. So they are a commitment to get to. And a lot of people have a Jasmer version, either 1, 2, 3, or 4, in their goals, because it's pretty unique to be able to get those. And Project GC tracks those beautifully. And as a matter of fact, on that grid, when it shows you, there's even at the bottom of that grid, it helps you find a list of caches that qualify for you, so that you don't have to just sort and sort and sort on geocaching.com. It says, well, it looks like you're missing June of 2001. Look, here's globally a list of all the caches placed at that time. Makes it really easy to plan a really exciting geocaching trip.
Yeah, and I think we'll probably talk about that a little bit more later when we get into the details around Project GC. But that's definitely the map map out your goals aspect of it is super, super convenient. Plus the fact of how narrow or broad you can filter that.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, Jasmer is one good challenge. The other term that people tend to use is fizzy, and some people are fuzzy on fizzy. Can you
They
explain
are.
what it is?
Went on a trip to Hawaii, and I had an event there, and I was talking to the people there, and we were talking about the same challenge, which was filling in the grid of all the different difficulty terrain rating combinations. But I was calling it the fizzy challenge, and they were calling it their grid. I'm working on my grid. It's the grid. There's a grid path. We talked around and around. I had no idea at that point that not everybody called it the fizzy grid. And my understanding of why it's called that, or how it's referred to in that way, is because the first person to set out a challenge that enticed people to fill out their grid, their caching handle is Fizzy Magic. And a lot of challenges are named after the person or the cacher that first came up with that challenge or first completed it. And there are 81 possibilities of difficulty and terrain rating, and I just filled in mine this year, which is really exciting. But a lot of people like to loop through their fizzy grid. They like to do it once, twice, 30, 40, 50 times. And that's just so incredible to me, because some DT ratings are very uncommon, and it can be really challenging to find those. And but it can certainly make for a really fun trip if you are looking for those really rare combos.
Exactly. And remember, those colors change at 11, 26, and 101 finds.
And just like we were talking about before with streaks, you can go any type of flavor of fizzy challenge. You can do your regular, just regular old fizzy, as is tracked on geocaching.com. You can do region specific. There's a Washington State fizzy grid challenge that I have a lot of friends that are working on, since that's where I'm located. You can do your multi fizzy. You can do your earth cache fizzy. You can do your large fizzy, and Project UC will track all of that for you.
Amazing. I can't imagine a 5.5 earth cache, but I'm sure they're out there.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, they are. I actually recently was playing around with Project GC and just seeing how close am I to an earth cache fizzy, and it wasn't as close as I would have liked. and I've got over 500 earth cache finds, but it's just that you have to selectively, like Jesse's saying, you've got to know what you're going after and then go after. So it's just a different way of playing the game. And that's, I think, one of the things I love about geocaching is there's so many different ways you can play the game, score it, and you're scoring against yourself. You can use things like Friend League or whatever, and have some friendly competition if you choose, but mostly you're just really playing against yourself. And there's I won't say infinite, because there isn't, but there's a multifold ways of scoring and finding different challenges. And I like that. I don't necessarily like pursuing every type of challenge or stats approach that there is, but sometimes it can be fun. You pick one that you think, yeah, you know what, I'm going to see if I can work on this, and I know I'm not going to get it in the next year, but we'll just keep it running in the background. And now learning from you, Jesse, that I can actually sync it up to my digital calendar. It's like, well, that would be kind of cool.
Yes.
Even if I don't want to go for it, I know this would be the day where if I have the opportunity to grab an earth cache, a multi, a mystery, whatever, today would be a good day to do that.
Exactly. If you were so inclined. And some people, in fact, the first German geocachers I ever met that I at least knew were German, they told me, I met them at an event, and they told me, we only find 5.5s. And I thought, you kidding? Who could only find 5.5s? And I looked at their stats. Sure enough, that is how they pick the caches that they find. They only go for the 5.5s, and that's just the kind of caching they like to do. And that was one of the things that they could use the stats for, is helping filter through and find those, because the stats told them about what their adventure was going to be before they even went there. And they were like, yeah, I don't want to find one on a sidewalk. I want to crawl through a cave or climb up a tree or go under a bridge or something like that. Like, that's why we do it.
Yeah, that makes
sense.
Yeah.
It makes events harder to find, but they're still out there.
5 event. Yeah.
Holy smokes.
3 people showed up. One of them was an hour late.
And we're all hanging on the side of this cliff. So we've talked about stats and tracking stats and different ways you can display those stats. One of the other things that people track and score the game on, we were talking just a moment ago about different ways to play and scoring, are badges. I'm thinking like
Yes.
badge gen. What are your thoughts or your experience with that?
Badge gen is something that is also something that can be really motivating, because what it is a tool that another really incredible programmer has created, and again, connected to Project GC, but it was originally made off of a macro from GSAC, which is another amazing tool, Geocaching Swiss Army Knife GSAC. And that tool also helps you track and find caches specifically in specific regions, and helps you create little pools of your own caches or like your finds and so forth. Badge gen gives you they're similar to souvenirs. They're the digital art, and there's different echelons of these badges, and they come in different jewel tones. So you can have the silver version of the earth cache badge, which means you have found certain number of earth caches. And then it tells you, oh, you have the silver earth cache badge. If you want the gold one, go find 2 more gold earth caches. So then you do, and then you have the gold one, and then it says, oh, you have the gold one. Would you like the platinum one? All you have to do is find 10 more. Well, 10 more, anybody can do that. So then you head out and find 10 more, and then you just keep moving yourself along. It can be really, really motivating. And then some of them, of course, are easier in different regions that you live in to get to than others. There are badges in Badge Gen for all kinds of different things, for streaks, for going to events, for hosting events, for moving trackables, for owning trackables, for your fizzy grid and how many loops you've done through your fizzy grid. It tells you how many badges exist and how many you have. And if you wanted to be that completionist and you wanted to get them all, you could. It also gives you it's like a little karate belt at the bottom, and you earn your way through different colors of belts based on different things that you can do within the game. Every find is worth a quarter of a point. Every multi-find might be a half a point or something like that. And you move your way through and you get to the different echelons and colors of belts. And it can be a really fun way to organize your trips, because I know for me, one of the benefits of these sorts of things, when you think, oh gosh, I think I'll go caching, where will I even go? The gift of living in the Pacific Northwest is that there are just options. You can go caching anywhere, any day, and find a ton. And because there's new ones all the time, and there's amazing roads and places to visit that have lots of amazing geocaches. And it can be really overwhelming for when you're just getting started. I don't know where to go. How do I, what do I do? And these stats can really help you focus your trip. They can help you come up with a priority. Okay, I want to get 2 more earth caches. Oh, look, on my map, there's 2 right up here. And look, there's 10 between where I am now and those 2 earth caches. Then that'll be my trip for the day. And you can practice building up those trips and make different trips for different people to join you on, or different difficulties and lengths of trips. And then once you start that, then you can start like, I want to get a cache in Idaho because I haven't gotten that state blocked out yet. So then, okay, that's going to be my goal, that 1 cache in Idaho, and I'm going to get all these caches on the way there and all these caches on the way back. And before you know it, you're caching for days.
But counties, and then it's
yeah. Exactly. But it does really help get you started if geocaching is starting to feel like something you might get into and you're not really sure, and how do you even pick caches to find. These are definitely motivators for that.
That's definitely a good way to keep it going. We talked a little bit about earth cache related stats.
Oh yeah.
I'm curious to hear more about your thoughts. I think you've done a little bit of earth cache related stat hunting.
Yes. I don't have 500 earth cache finds. I have 199. I'm searching for my 200th because it's got to be a good one. Even though that's a stat that's not tracked anywhere. What is your 200th earth cache find? But because it's a nice round number, I just want it to be a good one. And that's
a milestone.
Exactly.
Chris has a comment he makes about milestones.
Do I?
You do. You say every cache is a milestone.
Oh yeah, so that's true. Every cache is a milestone.
That is
I've
true.
never found 3,101 before.
That's true.
That's
And
a
you only
milestone.
get to do it once.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yes, I've been working on my Earth Cache Fizzy grid. And so some of my favorite Earth caches I've found have been on my paddleboard on a lake, which is really, really fun. And I also recently learned that when Earth caches were new, there were 20 different subtypes of Earth caches. Cave karst feature Earth caches, coastal feature Earth caches, erosional feature, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And many people still try to make sure that they find at least one Earth cache of all these different varieties. I had no idea. But there is a challenge for that, and there is a checker for it, and it will chart it all out for you of which Earth cache you have found of those 20 original subtypes of Earth caches.
Oh, I see the wheels turning in Land Monkey's head right now.
No, what you see is me clicking on the link that Jesse gave us for the checker.
I will
continue while I'm playing.
I can give everybody the GC code of one particular challenge. It's not nearby in the Pacific Northwest. I think it's in Illinois. But it is GC24G20 if you were interested or you wanted to find that checker right away to see if you qualify. And it'll give you a nice little walkthrough on that challenge. It walks through the types, the subtypes of Earth cache that you could do.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Land Monkey fulfills the challenge.
Way to go.
There you go.
Ding.
There's not much of a surprise there.
Well, there's 20 different subtypes. I mean, maybe there was a subtype that I just haven't been to whatever part of the world has that subtype. So.
Exactly. And one of the things on that checker, which was intriguing, is it tells you how many you found, and then it includes how many rare types you have found. And that I haven't explored that yet. I want to know which are the rare ones. My guess is like columnar basalt is not a rare one, but maybe it is.
Not around here.
But that was intriguing. I liked the idea of even filtering it more of the rarest of the subtypes.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That is cool. Now, all these stats may not be for the new geocacher. It may be that, somebody says, I'm kind of bored with geocaching. We can add stats to spice up the game a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But if someone is new to geocaching, where can they go to find all these?
The very first thing that I looked at was my stats tab on my geocaching.com profile, because that told me the options were out there and that if I wanted to take it even further, I could. And I was just thinking about how I was first inspired by stats. And that was because I started caching in February of 2011. And then as we cached through kind of the winter in Michigan there, and suddenly it was in April, and then I noticed it would tell you how many caches you found on the different days, and I thought, gosh, we could go for a big trip and find 30 caches on April 30th. We could do like a 30-30 challenge, and I didn't know what challenges were or that they even existed, but I thought that sounded like the most fun thing, is to find 30 caches on the 30th of April, and then we only found 27 rats, but we went for 30, which then helped me not also obsess over not making my goals, because sometimes that's part of it too. But that really started me snowballing all about the stats and finding the particular ones and filling in my maps and things. But once you exhaust your geocaching.com profile, Project GC is really the next tool that I find the most user-friendly. I don't think I've ever had to watch any sort of tutorials or use the forums. They exist for sure. But GSAC, it can be really complicated. It's a very powerful tool. And I've had friends invite me over and show me how to work it, and I can work it some. I know just enough to make me dangerous, but not as much as it can do. It's same with Project GC, but I have a little more confidence as I navigate through Project GC. Should we show what that looks like for those people visually following along?
We should.
That's awesome.
How about
There we
something like
go.
this?
Oh no, I've clicked it. Oh gosh, did I click the wrong thing? Oh, there we go. I didn't. Ugh, computers are hard. Okay, so that we're looking at my stats. This is my landing page when I log into projectgc.com, and it shows me my how many caches I found in my lab caches. And then it just kind of walks me through my general finds, because here at the top, we've got lots of different tabs. And here's the badge gen tab, a challenges tab, and we'll get there. These are just your general finds that as it looks at what, that was what my 2018 looked like. And my best month was November. It darkens that 1 month so that you can see that at first glance. It shows you all kinds of information: how many caches per day in the last year, the average per day the last year, the best day that I've ever had, the best day that I had in 2019, the most finds in a calendar month, the most cache types in a day. For those of you who like challenges, that's often called the busy day challenge, when you try to get all those different cache types. I just did 10 this year in Kentucky, which was really, really fun.
That's hard to do. Good job.
Yeah, it was all about traveling. As I knew I was going to a new town, and they had a webcam, and I thought, there you go.
Well planned.
I can do it. Then it continues, and whatever speaks to you. That's the wonderful thing about this. There's so many different opportunities to get excited about something. Maybe you really are going for log similarity. So the how much variance is in the words that you choose for your logs. Some people want to get that as low as possible, so which means they're not just writing easy find, thanks so much, on to the next, or something. They're writing a story.
Period.
Yeah.
And move on.
Exactly.
That's kind of a cool one. I mean, that goes along with the whole glow concept we do.
It really does.
One of the other stats you rolled past in that whole big collection there, and it's one that's really interesting to Mrs. Monkey and myself, is highest elevation. We're always chasing the highest elevation we can try and get to and find a cache. So
yes. I went to Death Valley and totally blew out my low elevation challenge.
Wow. Yeah, that is crazy low.
And that's the nice thing. This is just a sampling. As you can see on the side, I am only, a fifth of the way down the page. It shows you all kinds of charts and average terrain per year and average difficulty per year. Like, gosh, I really stepped it up in 2018. I need to keep it going for 2019. And the finds by year cache placed. And this is, since it's August 1st, here's all the August 1sts I've ever done. And here's that fizzy chart that we were talking about that I just filled in this year, that shows all of the different difficulty and terrain rating arrangements and combinations. And here is that tool that I could use. If I wanted to click on this, it would take me to a map that would show me all of the other caches. If I wanted to get this, if I want to finish out my second loop, get all these ones turned into twos, I could easily do that by using that tool. The alternative to using this tool is just doing it by hand and searching on geocaching.com and filtering by, okay, I need a 1.5, 4.5, and I can filter that way. This is just a little bit quicker. And here's the list of all of my way to the 81. Every time I filled in a fizzy grid, it lists it all out for you so that you can remember the first time you got one. And here's the one that I found in Oregon that was box 81 that filled the whole thing. Here's all the caches that have the highest favorite points, the oldest caches that I've found, the highest and lowest elevation caches that I've found. Here's my Death Valley trip with everything, just totally all of every other cache that I had found that was below sea level is off of those stats, thanks to Death Valley.
Yeah.
There's finds by found date, by hidden date. This is if you wanted to fill in. The hidden date has everything to do with when the CO has placed the cache. That's another grid that you can fill in. This is the one, this finds by hidden month. That's the one that's traditionally referred to as your Jasmer challenge. And here's that hidden month tool link down here that you would click on that will help you fill in all of those boxes. If you wanted, there's some challenges where you can find a certain number of caches placed by certain COs. There's all the attributes that I've found. There are some challenges that require you to find a certain number of certain attributes. This will collect those for you. We can go back up to the top here. I'll go quickly.
So while you're doing that, Brylang in the chat used the hashtag stats and said, I know a kayaking earth cache that might be of interest to Jesse.
That'd be a difficult terrain 5.
Maybe. I wonder if he just found that this week. I feel like I may have seen that on Instagram. Looking at badge gen, since we were talking about that, here are all those badges and all the different colored jewel tones of the different badges. And if you hover over them, like this one here is the photogenic cacher, awarded for finding 18 or more webcam caches. jtCoffee has 19 and needs 6 more to go up a level. And I saw that just the other day and I thought, oh no, 6. Like, and now I'm thinking, okay, I know. So I'm thinking, okay, there's 2 in Oregon. I can go down and get those this weekend. And I wasn't even thinking about that until now. There's only 6. Well, anybody can do 6. It's just 6. It's just so motivating for me. And then
that hashtag geocache road trip is
yeah.
I got 3 webcam caches in Oregon this weekend.
Nice. Wow. See, well done. There's state-related badges, country-relaed badges. Here's the belt and the badge information, the belt information. This explains how and what all of the how you accumulate the different colors of belts, all the different point values for all of those things. And some people are really, really motivated by these. And some people I've never looked at badge gen. And to what we've been saying, that's the lovely thing about it, is everybody's motivated by a different thing. And it's just a different way of sorting that information that you accumulate as you go and find caches.
Nice.
I love the country badges in badge gen.
Yes.
Fun to earn those because that means you've done some serious traveling.
Exactly.
Indeed.
In the chat, Dora, I'm sorry. In the chat, Doramore says, I've got 19 of the 20 subtypes of the earth caches with just 169 earth cache finds. I have a new goal.
Very nice. Very nice.
Brylang only has 18 types. He doesn't qualify yet. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jessica.
Oh no, it's exactly. Now you know that there's a challenge, you get curious, and then you think, oh gosh, where's it's just one. I can do just one. And then you can suddenly a whole trip bubbles out of just finding this one cache. And I'm sure it'll be quite the adventure because it's a type of earth cache that you haven't found before. Yeah, exactly.
So much fun. Yeah, and like you say, it's just one. I can go find one. I'll find one somewhere.
Exactly. It's just one. Speaking of
nobody can find just one.
I know. Because you can't you got to be efficient. You got to find all the ones from here to there and then back again. Speaking of all those challenges, Project GC does have a challenge tab under the paid subscription style, and that is such a terrific way to track all the challenges that you've found and that you are working on, because it's a short link to all of the checkers so that you can start to see how you are how you're shaping up and how many more that you need, or if you've even accomplished it. Sometimes as you green sign a challenge, you just write a note on the caching page saying, I'm working on this one. I've found the cache itself today, but I won't claim it until I qualify. And then suddenly you qualify, and you maybe even did it by accident. That tab will tell you, it will turn it green when you've magically qualified so that you can claim it as a find.
That's a paid option on Project GC that will do the challenge, that will go out and determine what challenges you already qualify for. You can go and manually check on Project GC for free, but having that paid automatic challenge checker is fantastic.
It really is.
Yeah. So hold on. Where is that? Because I'm in Project GC. I want to know where that is.
On Project GC, it's on the top right.
Yeah, let me get to my screen here. Are we sharing the screen?
And there's a challenge. Yes, I can share the screen.
Okay. There we go. So at the top here, all the challenges.
Oh,
And then
under your stats. Okay, I wasn't
Under
yes.
stats up top. Yeah.
Yeah. And then here's all of the challenges I've found. You can tell I'm very motivated by challenges. Very motivated by challenges. I'm scrolling through. I'm found so far to date 228 challenge caches. Then, of course, there's a whole grid, the challenges by found date that I haven't filled out yet. Terribly embarrassing. My goodness. There is the challenges fizzy grid that you could work on. And then here's a list of either ones that I've worked on or green signed or something like that, or I've qualified for but haven't found yet and wrote a note on the page saying, I qualify, hooray. And then this is a link to the actual page or to the checker over here. And it's just makes it so much easier, especially when you are meta challenge caching, where one particular cache you find qualifies for many different challenges that you're working on. Yeah.
Oh, too much.
I know. It can be very overwhelming or very exciting.
Exactly. Exactly. No, there are times where it's just like, oh, I'm finding another cache. Okay. Why? But if you have a reason to go out, like you say, I can find one. Anybody can find just one cache.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
All for the numbers, for those box filling.
Exactly. Right now I'm working on the Delorme challenge. So that was some of my vacation is told my wife says, where do you want to go? Well, I would really like to go to the Olympic Peninsula. Oh, we could see this and that. Yeah, I need 6 geocaches there. That's really all I need just to fill out 6 pages there and I'll be good.
It's fine. It's all I need. We're going to go on this other side of the road. Why? Because I just need to go over there. Yes, I've made similar excuses for my vacations and travel plans. I'm like, let's just pop right up here. In fact, we can stay in this little tiny town. It's no problem. No,
how quaint.
It's quaint. There you go.
It's a cities and towns challenge challenge place. It's fine.
So yeah, if you can think of it, there's probably already a challenge out there for it.
Exactly.
And maybe that will motivate you to go out and find more caches. And, you could do your entire mysteries at the museum with, as we said last show, just mystery caches or earth caches or what have you.
That would be a fun challenge.
Yeah,
wow.
That would put the pressure on, wouldn't it?
No kidding.
Because now you're time boxed. You have to do it by a certain date.
Exactly.
Yes. Whew.
Yeah, that feels like a little too much pressure.
Okay. Just go out and find your 57 caches any way you can.
That's right. Have fun doing it.
Exactly.
Well, jtCoffee, thank you so much. Now I feel completely inadequate because I don't have as many challenges as you do. So now I've got to step it up and start doing these challenges.
Well, there's a tool for that.
I just found out there is, yes. And not just one.
Yeah, I think
exactly.
We knew there was a tool for it, but we didn't know how to use it as well as you do. So I appreciate you sharing your insights. It's actually been very educational.
Good. I'm glad to chat these sorts of things. I love this sort of stuff. I love talking about this sort of stuff.
It's awesome.
Well, go ahead, Land Monkey. You had something?
I was just commenting that it was awesome. And then I was going to ask you if there was anything else that you guys want to talk about or are we looking at wrapping up the show because it's 9:56?
Well, I was going to say let's wrap up the official show. jtCoffee, will you stay with us in the after show? You bet. Okay. Awesome. So folks, thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this episode. There's more to come. ...
Yeah. Yes, we've got some great shows lined up in the next couple of weeks. Next week we've got I believe we've got Rock Chalk joining us to come back and finish the chat we were having with him that we ran out of time for. So he's very graciously coming back, and we're gonna talk about geocaching HQ's pro tips for cache owners. And maybe we'll get we'll probe for a little bit of an update on how the current promotion is going for the Mystery Museum. See if the official field reporter knows anything else. And then the week
Is he
after,
gonna wear the suit? He needs to wear the suit.
remind him.
Okay.
Yeah, let's remind him that he needs to wear the suit. 2 weeks. 2 weeks out from, so that's next week. Okay, hold on, pause, think. Okay, got it. So that's next week. 2 weeks out, we've got MC3 Cats coming on the show. So it's like a WSGA takeover this month. And he's going to be talking to us about the Cash Dash Splash event,
Exactly.
which I didn't realize was still going on. I thought that.
Yes, it's kind of
is.
been revived. I think it's going to be a blast or a splash.
A splash.
There you go. So that's the next couple of weeks. So we got some fun shows coming up. Make sure you don't miss those. And of course, at this point in time in our show, I, as always, want to thank the Landsharks, our corporate Denali level sponsor. Landsharks.ca is the outdoor adventure and geocaching store. Check them out online, or hey, why don't you just go in person and visit their store in beautiful Victoria, British Columbia. They are open 6 days a week, except holidays, and they ship online orders daily. Ooh, that was a big shark. It's like a whale shark.
Got to be careful. Sometimes there are big sharks. There's always a bigger shark.
Or baby sharks.
Ooh.
Do. All right.
Oh boy. Welcome to Caching in the Northwest, the Earworm podcast.
That's right. Hey, we also want to thank our faithful Denali level supporters. That's of course Landsharks, but it's also JP Geo Designs, Bounce, Limax, Team Squirrel, and aworldcaching.com. If you want to know more about supporting this show, click that Patreon link on the cachingandw.com a website, and you will also be punished by having us read your names. And those names are Broncos Fan for Life,
Sprouter,
Camp Clan,
Tick Magnet,
Kebakti,
Subway Mark,
Dora Moore,
Doom Buddy,
Kid Vegas 19,
GeoNav Pros,
Wino Seattle,
Ackerdoc,
Billy Robson,
Genies,
Andeas,
Keats 94,
Trexer Zero.
MC3 Cats, my favorite MC.
There you go. Favorite geocaching rap star. Kennel Barb,
M-Nerve.
Wet Coaster, and Greenwords. I got to say too.
Oh man. Segehove.
Alarobic,
Keepers of the Cash Flow.
Highlands Guy,
Geo Travelers.
Boomer 365.
GSM times 2. That counts as 2.
Yeah, okay. All right. I'll give you that one. Kitty Quest.
T-Sayer.
And brand new supporter of the show. Thank you very much for your support. Seabeck Tribe.
So thanks for all your support. We really appreciate those patrons. Until next week, let's start with our guest. jtCoffee, where could people find you if they wanted to stalk you? I mean, ask you questions on the internet and find out where these road trips you're going to find the 5 Earth caches.
Oh, yeah. Well, you're, of course, more than welcome to friend me on geocaching.com of jtCoffee there. You can find me. I'm on Facebook and on Instagram. My Insta is Jessie, which is JES_SEA, like the C. And you can also message the WSGA. I am a part of that. I'm the new interim VP of WSGA, and I can easily be found there too.
Doing so much. Thank you. We appreciate the WSGA and all the other geocaching associations. But WSGA in August on Caching in the Northwest, it's the place to be.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Land Monkey? Where can you be found?
Well, on our website, landmonkey.ca, but also, of course, Twitter, Instagram, and Periscope. It's at LandMonkeyGC. And YouTube, hey, new video, season 3 has launched. So the first episode's out. Second episode is already out for patrons. And after this weekend, anybody else will be able to check that out. And just search YouTube for Land Monkey, LANMONKEY, Land Monkey on YouTube. Chris, my friend.
Why do I have to follow that?
You
On
need a
Twitter,
song.
I'm Caching NW. On Facebook, Caching NW as well. Instagram, Caching in the Northwest. You know what? Head on over to cachingNW.com/host. Read all those bios, find all those links, and do all the things.
All the things.
All the things. But most of all, we want to thank you for taking this time to listen to this episode of Caching in the Northwest. Don't forget that you can be part of the show. You can call 253-693-TFTC, leave us a comment, ask a question, email us a picture of a perfect s'more any time of the day or night. And of course, you can email us at feedback@cachingnw.com.
Can I interrupt for just a moment? I would actually like you to email us the actual perfect s'more, not just a picture of it. Email us the s'more, please.
Well, I figured if you got the picture, then you run it through your 3D food printer and you've got it, because everybody has those.
Well, I do. It's right back there. That's what the blue glow is. All right. Please continue now that I've completely disrupted your train of thought.
See, we just want to prove that this is not canned and pre-read ahead of time. So your support might help keep quality shows coming. Might not. It depends on what we're doing on the evening. Now, if you like the show, click the Patreon link on the cachingnw.com website and subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and more. Hey, give us a thumbs up or a review. The show's produced by Chris Umfenauer, Jim Paulwitz, and Jay Kennedy. It's licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license, copyright 2019 by Chris Umfenauer. And folks, we ask you to stay tuned for
The After Show.
It's like Wits End is still here.
Not here, but not forgotten.
No, he's on the East Coast tonight. So, we have some faithful East Coast listeners who will stay up to midnight, 1 o'clock to listen to us. And
you guys are hardcore, and
you really are, or, hardcore, or just can't get to sleep.
Hopefully this is a cure for insomnia. Oh, gosh.
Caching in the Northwest, 9 years of putting geocachers to sleep.
There's worse things. I just talking about Jim not being here tonight and us missing him. I'd like to remind folks that if you're missing him on the podcast, remember to send him a Twitter message.
Mm-hmm.
Just tag him at Wits End in your tweet and let him know that he was missed tonight.
He really does like that. He won't tell you. He may not tell you directly, but he really does.
In fact, he'll say he hates it.
Something, didn't you? Yeah. Hey, we're actually in
The After Show.
Hashtag FATAS.
Hashtag FATAS. Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, so why don't we let our guest read a couple of FATAS?
Oh gosh, I can't see them.
Oh, okay. They're at the bottom.
Just make something up then.
Bottom of the show notes.
Bottom of the show notes.
If you lift your laptop, they're underneath.
They're under. The files are in the computer.
I was wondering why the screen was going backwards.
Like, is it like where
you're in there?
So I have a private chat, but I don't know. I can't see any of the public things.
Okay. So in the show notes, if you scroll right down to the bottom, we've got a section in the show notes called After Show where we paste them in there.
Ah, nice. Well, I closed everything because I was terribly afraid that we would like share the wrong screen, or that I would share the wrong screen or something like that, some sort of noob mistake. So yeah,
no problem.
Fair enough.
Well, the first one we have is from IHAM. He says, what are some of the good questions for a cache event bingo card? And this is for an engagement celebration event cache.
Oh, so it's for a particular type of event cache.
Yeah.
Engagement celebration. So maybe the question should kind of be related to relationships or something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of stats are there or things that you would put on a cache event bingo card?
How many times have you been married or engaged?
You could.
Oh.
That might get a little awkward if you were around asking everybody that.
7.
Do you cache solo or do you cache with your snuggle muggle? There's a question.
There you go.
That's what I was thinking of. How many have you ever couched going geocaching as something else for your muggle significant other? Let's go on some errands and I'm just gonna go look in that bush over there. I'll be right back.
There's apparently an amazing view out here. We should go check it out.
I've done that.
We've all done that.
Or how tall do you think that hill is over there? 200 feet. Interesting. You don't say.
Oh,
Early
that-
on in geocaching, it was like, oh, you need something from the store? I'll go. And 2 hours later, I come back muddy.
without the stuff, or with
Here's
the
your
wrong-
oregano.
Yeah.
I picked it myself.
And dried it. It took forever.
That's right. And the milk. Yeah. Found the cow. Yeah. Oh God.
I swear I am actually opening some of these. It's just taking forever in a day.
Yeah.
But yeah, gosh, yeah. How many different excuses you've come up with, or have you ever used or come up with an excuse for geocaching? Or
What I like to ask is, have you ever left a family event to go find a geocache?
oh yes. Or have you ever been caching during a wedding? I have left a wedding before and to go geocaching.
Okay. But the real question is, was it your own?
No. It wasn't. I didn't know what geocaching was when I got married, but there is actually a geocache right where we got married, and I haven't found that one yet. I still need to do that. But I have, we were kind of, it was at this like the hangout, like before everybody got into dancing, but after dinner portion of a wedding. And it was in a place I was, a streak, got to find one. And there's one right outside. I was like, I'm just going to go do a lap for some fresh air. And, and then sure enough, got one. No problem.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So
Scrolling. I'm scrolling. I have finally arrived at the after show paste.
Okay. So
list.
why don't you pick up the one from Keats?
Keats, let's see. I picked up my rescued. Oh no, I'm only seeing part of it. Oh dearie me. I have to scroll all the way down. Talk about suspense. Oh my goodness. There we go. I picked up my rescue GPSer from a very friendly Nanaimo cacher. Oh, that's nice of them. He told me he just happened to be biking by, noticed a geocache on his app, and sure enough, spotted my GPSer. What a guy. Well, that's a really cool thing. Way to go, that person, for finding it and picking up the GPS. I've had that moment before where I thought I left my GPS at a cache, and that moment of like, well, how am I ever going to get it back? That's a way cool shout out. Way to go, Nanaimo geocacher.
Yeah, I think he said who it is there next.
So part 2, shout out to West Coast Finder for being a star geocacher, for being there at the right time and keeping my GPSer safe. Oh yeah, especially if you have a really fancy pants GPSer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I need to get one of those.
That's a quality move. So definitely shout out to West Coast Finder over on the island. Way to be an awesome person. Exactly.
Yeah.
And you'll never guess who we heard from. We heard from MC3 Cats.
Wow, amazing. I'm actually a part of this, speaking of stats, and it's so cool that HQ has offered this ability or this test for some groups, and the WSGA is one of those groups that was elected by HQ to do this, which is so cool. They're testing a group challenge special flavor of leaderboards, basically. And if you are a premium member of the WSGA, then it is available to you, which is really cool. And it's just like a leaderboard on the left side of your dashboard page, and your stats and the mystery at the museum and all those things that kind of float down that left list there in your lists. If you're a part of this, it says WSGA, and it shows all of the premium members, just like your leaderboard does. And then you're competing to work with them. It just started today. I just looked at mine. It looks like so far it's number of caches found. So I found 2 today. So I'm at 2. But I'm not at the bottom, but I'm not at the top either. So I'll have to work on that.
Okay. So I'm not quite catching what this is. So let me repeat back what I think I heard, and you can correct me. It's a new spin on the what's that called? The group challenge.
The leaderboard.
Leaderboard. Thank you. It's a new spin on the leaderboard, where your leaderboard will only show members of the WSGA or whatever group you're in. So it would actually But it would
Mhm.
show all members of WSJ or only ones you're friends with? Because that's one of
The only the
leaderboard.
premium members who have opted in. It's a choice. It's just a fun thing to do. And if our Chris MC3 Cats, our president, has sent out an email saying, "Let me know if you want to opt in," and it's available to the WSJ premium members. And so everybody who says yes, I want to give this a try, is listed among that. If you share my screen, I can show you where we are. Oh, look, there we are.
Oh,
And so
WSJ geocaching.
view profile set. Yeah. Hey, WSJ geocaching challenge. Click on that. And 8 years later, it will open. I apologize. There we go. It's going to contemplate it for a minute just because that's the way of things. But yeah, here we go. Gosh, Squirrel 50 had an amazing day. 55 points. Look at that. And then, oh, here's me. I'm you. That's me, jtCoffee. I'm at number 4 with my 2 caches of the day. And it's recommending that you find some with high favorite points. That's probably how you get extra points in this particular promotion. Oh, look, if I wanted to know about that, I could click about scoring under our group. As a group, we have earned 66 points, which is awesome. And it looks like every found it is 5 points. If you find a mystery cache, that's 15. And if you attend a CETO event, that's 10. Rats, I did that yesterday, just before this started. Oh, well, I guess I'll have to go to more. But yeah.
So it's now I'm curious. You have a point total. You have your team points. So would you actually compete against others? So like WSGA could compete against BCGA or something like that. Is that theoretically what would happen?
I bet, since this is super beta from HQ, they're probably trying to see what this, how this works. Do people like it? What happens when you work against each other for this? And how can you accumulate points? Are people interested in this kind of thing? They're just trying to suss all that stuff out.
Okay.
Looks like.
So you could play it individually, like I want to be the top person in my team, or you could play it as a team, and I'm just going to get whatever I can get to help my team beat everybody else.
It looks like it, yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, jtCoffee, guess what? Highlands guy says, "Oh, I just covered your face."
Oh, well.
There you go. I used Project GC Challenge Checker and found I qualified for a cache I signed a while ago.
Woohoo! Best day. That's like a free find almost. You can just log that on. Ta-da! Poo in the Woods container type challenge. That sounds intriguing.
That's
and
different.
Land Monkey.
Yes, sir.
Paul wants to know, no more all in one breath?
Yeah, no, we stopped doing that a while ago.
Yeah. They ran out of breath 4 or 5 new patrons ago.
What a great problem to have.
It is. It is a great problem to have. I'm very thankful that we have that problem. Very cool. All right. Well,
Starcasher, yay, Eastern time zoners.
I know, right?
Or as MC3 Cats calls them, insomniacs.
Well, Starcasher is one of those Eastern time zones.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
They're awesome.
It was really neat to find. Actually, last time I was on the show, I wore my trackable name tag, which I can read aloud the numbers. If you would like to discover my name tag, you totally can. That's GSKZTT, Golf Sierra Kilo Zulu Tango Tango. And it was amazing to see all the different places that people were tuning in from. When I got all those emails that people were discovering it, I was very surprised. It was so neat to see the show's reach.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Somebody mentioned they were the first to log your trackable today.
Oh, cool. I bet there's a stat for that.
That might have been why they were mentioned.
Really? Never considered that.
I know.
Awesome. Well, guys, what do you think? Wrap it up?
I think so. Folks, thank you so much for joining us. And until next week, go check your stats and then get out and get caching in the Northwest.